Hey YouTube, this is the Factor here. Young Grasshopper had said a while back in the Cliffside Bunker that he was going to do a testimonial video about him coming to the Lord. And he said that he was waiting on it because a little hesitant to do it. And then, of course, he wanted to make sure he did it justice and it's everything he wanted to. I made a comment, told him that to help him out, I guess to show him some support, I would do mine. So earlier this week, I got a fancy stand for my phone. That's why I'm able to do a video now in my home instead of in my work truck like I did my last one. So what better time to try out the stand than doing this? So I will clearly mark this in the video title, so people who don't want to see it don't have to. I definitely don't want to push my faith on anybody or trick them into watching it. So by all means, I will clearly mark it, so if people don't want to see it, they don't have to. But first and foremost, I guess it's not about my faith at all. I do wear glasses, but however, when I put the glasses on, as you see, you got weird glare and that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to bother letting notes because I can't see them. So I'll just kind of go as it comes to me, kind of, and just kind of go over it. So my testimony isn't all, it's not, fantastic, but it's definitely good. So I grew up, when I was a young kid, I grew up a chunk of my life with my grandma and grandpa, and they went to church every single week. So I grew up a little bit in the church, strayed away from it, came back, bounced back and forth a couple different times, which is sometimes you when you hear people, that's common, especially if they don't have a stable home that goes all the time. Like I'm my 3-year-old and 1-year-old, they go to church 3 times a week. So their story, of course, might be different. Once they get older, they have been going to church ever since I can remember, or whatever the case may be. But at any rate, when I was in my early 20s, I finally moved out on my own. Got a job working at Subway, going to college, that kind of thing. So eventually, through doing that, I guess before then, when I was going to college, I lived with my brother, who was Bro C3 on the playthroughs we're doing. At that time, he had just kind of started his journey with the Lord, I guess. And he had his pastor come over to his house once a week, do Bible studies and that kind of stuff with him. I sat in on a few that I was interested in, one of those being the end times. I'm still interested in that. So I have a personal relationship a lot with my pastor, more than a lot of people might have, just because I've seen him a lot. And that was even before I even went to church. And of course, he said that, anytime you want to come and listen to these or be part of these, by all means. And I had many talks with him from my standpoint at that time. But anyway, fast forward to when I was living on my own. During those times, I went through a couple, at the time, bad breakups with girlfriends and that kind of stuff. So I was pretty low. It was a very, very low point in my life. I wasn't quite towards the, going to end it all suicide thing, which, God forbid people who are in that position. But it was low. I tend to wear my heart on my sleeve, even nowadays. So at the time when the couple breakups and stuff did happen with girls at the time I thought were the love of my life, kind of thing. When those things did happen, I felt pretty poorly. I would come home, wouldn't do much of anything. Your typical depressed kind of thing. I would just stare at the walls and cry, that kind of stuff, right? But I was really bad. I was really low. Matter of fact, the only 2 people who really know how low I was my brother and now my pastor, then his pastor. My brother's seen what the state of which I was living. I wouldn't keep myself clean. I was filthy. My house was filthy. I don't want to do anything, didn't want to be with anybody, that kind of thing. I was really, really low. Um, Even had the pastor come over at one point in time and talk to me. It's awesome that he took the time out of his day, his schedule, whatever the case may be, to come do that. That shows how good of a person he actually is. Because he didn't have to, of course. My brother being somewhat obligated, but he did not have to. But I tell you that to say this: I was pretty low for a while, a long while, as a matter of fact. And it was not a good point in my life. Eventually, through that stuff, I met my now wife, and she was the one who eventually urged me and her to go to church. So when me and my wife had met each other, excuse me, it's a little late now in Wisconsin when I'm doing this, so forgive me. She was the one who kind of urges, hey, we should go to church and do something. Of course, at the time I was fighting it tooth and nail. Like, I don't need to go to church. I want anything to do with church. At one point in time, I'd renounced God. I said, I don't need him, don't ever need him, don't ever want him. He's done nothing but, give me false promises. I don't want the dude. I don't want nothing to do with him. No. And of course, women, the way they do, the way they have their ways. They look at you and bat their eyes, and you do whatever they tell you. Whatever they want, of course. So I did. Initially, we'd gone to. She grew up Lutheran. I grew up Pentecostal, which is about night and day difference. People who don't quite understand, Lutheran's an offshoot of Catholic, and they're very regimented, very strict. A lot of ceremony, standing up and sitting down multiple times during the service, singing out a hymnal. I don't know, if it was a pastor, reverend, priest, whatever he is, I don't know. He would go and change garments after every portion of the service. It's pretty dry, pretty dry. No feeling, really, in my opinion. And no offense to anybody out there who's Catholic or Lutheran. I don't mean to bash you. If that's what you do, it's what you do. But for me, it just wasn't my thing. Very, very dry, very, very, I didn't want to be there kind of thing. So we'd gone a couple different times with her grandparents. And I said, look, honey, I love you. This is not my thing. If we're going to go to church, let's go try, like I said at the time, my brother's church. That was Pentecostal, what I was raised at. So she agreed. Said, hey, we're going, let's just go do it. And people who don't understand and don't know what a Pentecostal service is like, it's very animated, let's say that. People, when, we have worship service, they're, raising their hands, clapping, singing. Sometimes you get people who are, jumping around, going crazy. Not a place where you're going to really sleep, really. It's very loud, very animated, it's amazing. It's an awesome thing to go to a church service and see that. Before service, you talk to a very calm and collected old lady, and later on she's yelling and praising the Lord, raising her arms, clapping. It's amazing to see that kind of stuff. Anyway, we went, and I'll never forget my wife saying, "I don't know if I want to go back again." It was way out of my comfort zone, and I told her that was completely in my comfort zone. That's what I grew up in, and we went back, and we haven't looked back since. So now to kind of the more testimonial side of things. When we had first started attending church, she was told that she would never be able to have kids, ever. Doctor said, listen, you're unable to have children. So at the time, my wife was very, very, excuse me, again, very, very upset about the thing. What she had gone through in her head at the time was, she's a female and that's her entire job on this planet and she can't do it. So it hit her very, very hard, as well as me. When I first started going out with her, I didn't want kids. I said I never wanted them ever. Obviously that didn't work out for me, and I'm very happy it didn't. But at any rate, she was very, very upset, of course, as was I. So we started to look into adoption and that kind of stuff. Realized it was very, very expensive, and it should be, because not anybody should be able to do it. Excuse me again. So it hurt us mentally, I guess, meaning it was hard to deal with. So we're just going about our lives the best we could at the time. Lo and behold, one day, she's like, I just don't feel good. I haven't felt good for a while, and she was pregnant. And not only pregnant with one kid, but 2 years later, she's pregnant with another one. And coming from a woman who supposedly was not supposed to ever have kids ever, we have two beautiful young boys, 3 and 1. So I think that is wholly and completely because of the Lord. We at the time we were ready to have kids, and we got them. And even though she was told by multiple doctors and medical professionals it will never happen, here we sit. So I owe my 2 children, in my opinion, to God. They are amazing kids. They've helped me grow as a person. Helped me and my wife's relationship grow even so much better, having kids. There's sacrifices you make, of course. I can't do the fancy, awesome hobbies I love to do all the time like I used to, because I have kids. I have to work more hours. I have to work harder, because I have a family at home to support. So, sure, you make sacrifices, but it's well worth it. I don't know if I'll be saying that the day that my son tells me he hates me and wants to leave, but for right now, it's well worth it. With that too, I when I was in my young 20s, and again being hot-headed and stupid, like I said, I denounced the Lord. Said I don't want anything to do with you ever. I spit on you. I don't want nothing to do with you. I'll never pray to you ever again. Yeah, here I sit. And by no means am I trying to say, hey, I'm the perfect Christian, because I'm not. I sin every single day. I'm human. I'm faulty. I do things wrong. But at the same time, as long as you realize that and you go about your life in a good way, it's okay. So my testimonial being a couple different things. One, my wife was never supposed to have children, and here we have 2 amazing kids. That to me is sign enough. The other thing being, I was down and out, with no hope for me. I'd considered, briefly ending my life, of course, only to realize that was not the way I needed to do things, and there's a reason for that, obviously. I do think God has a grand scheme for everybody, but so my kids, they're a huge testimonial. The fact that I went from not wanting to live to having a very full life. Now I have a fantastic job that can support all 4 of us. Granted, not fantastically. I live in an apartment, but a couple years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago, that was not even on my radar. So I now have a fantastic career, and everything's going good. Sure, you still have your bumps in your road and all that kind of stuff, but everything seems to be going good. So what the Lord has done for me is, I guess, change my outlook on life. If you look at everything in a whole, I went from not really wanting to be around at all, to now looking forward to waking up. To put that in a very light lighthearted sounds, I guess. Um, I mean, it's a good thing to know, and I'd hinted in my introduction video of my channel. It takes a lot of the stress out of your life, out of the day, and it does. To a certain extent, to know that you have a reason, you have a purpose for living. I think, especially for men, that hits home, because men always want to have a purpose. They want to have a reason for doing what they do. And now my sole reason is providing for my family and raising two beautiful children. Um, so it's cool to go from the lowest of the low to feeling blessed. No, I'm not rich. I don't have fancy cars. I don't have all this cool stuff that of course I would want. But really don't need any of that anyway. What you need is a family, people to love you. And for the people out here that don't have a family or people love them, I guess I shouldn't say you need that. What you need is a sense of self-worth, I guess. I tend to get that from my family. But I mean, in whatever you do, if you don't have much of a family out there, meaning, people you support, that kind of stuff, or people that you live with, whatever, you have friends, you have loved ones of some kind. And again, if you don't have that, then, you always have at least what I felt I had, my little sliver of stuff I had when I was going through my hard times, was I had my hobbies. I had the stuff I did to make myself somewhat remotely happy. So you kind of delve into that, right? And of course, being a guy, you typically, put a lot of energy into it. Not take a lot of my energy and put that in my family. Which is why I don't play my hobbies and all that kind of cool stuff I'd like to as much as I used to, because I just don't have the time to do it. There's not enough time in the day. We all have to sleep, right? So I just wanted to kind of go ahead and make this video to show, support for people like Young Grasshopper. I'm right. I watched a video he posted, last night, I believe it was, on the 9th. That talked about sired blood and the stuff he used to do before coming to the Lord. So it shows you that you have people out here that and I guess now speaking right to Young Grasshopper, there are people out there that are like you, meaning they're freshly come to the Lord. I consider myself freshly come to the Lord still. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing, quote unquote club to be in, right? And to know that people who want to make a testimonial video like this, sometimes it is pretty rewarding to put it out there. Mine isn't like, hey, he saved me from doing all this kinds of stuff and saved me from death in a car crash, or nothing even crazy like that. Mine really wasn't all that dramatic. I've heard other stories that have been way more dramatic than mine. But at the same time, for me, it was amazing, right? So go ahead, Young Grasshopper, throw your video up there. And you seem like the guy who wouldn't care about this, but people put negative comments on it, whatever, people are going to do that. I don't think people really will, but if they do, they do. Cool, it's everybody has their own thought, their own opinion on everything. Of course, you would like people to like your stuff, right? That's kind of why you do it. But at the same time, if they don't, they don't, man. Just know that people out here like myself, we're looking forward to seeing it. So if you do, great. If you want to take your time and collect your thoughts, go ahead and do it. But just throw it up here like I did. I don't have a single note or anything. And again, I wear glasses, so I couldn't even see it anyway. So this is going to be my testimonial video. I don't think I'm going to really do like a series or anything because I don't have a bunch of testimonials, obviously. But I just kind of want to get this video out here quick and get it uploaded. So I'll do that as soon as I can.